This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we doing today on a Wednesday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. You guys are hanging out with us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, Facebook page, listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We're going to have a lot of fun hanging out with Mason Woods. We just got off the practice field over at the Malmore Athletic Facility, and so we are going to be talking about practice for most of the day today. We're going to be talking practice. We're going to take a voicemail from our friend Dax. Dax is back from his summer vacation, ready for the fall, and so we'll check in with Dax as well, and we will talk really just football as we get ready. We're, 24 days away from Alabama kicking it off against Florida State. So very, very excited. Mason Woods, you see our guy Pete Nakos talking about how much money Thomas Castellanos is making this year at Florida State.
Ooh, this did not come across me. What kind of figure are we working with?
He looks like he's making $800,000 was his promise, which is kind of a bargain when you think about Power 4 starting quarterbacks. But if you're Florida State, then what kind of expectations do you really have? You want to go out and pay an $800,000 quarterback. In comparison, Pete Nakos today reporting that John Mateer at Oklahoma, between $2.5 and $3 million. So quite the contrast.
That's what a good season will get you. John Mateer threw for over 3,000 yards last year. I don't believe Thomas Castellanos came anywhere close to that.
So we will get into all kinds of storylines today. Those just two quick ones that I saw come across the wire this morning while we were over at the Malmore Athletic Facility. We got to spend about 15, 20 minutes outside watching practice. The boys were in pads for the first time, full pads for the first time, and it was definitely a different vibe over at the facility. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what we heard from Kane Womack in just a little bit, and we will also take the voicemail from Dax. You can join Dax on the voicemail line at 205-462-7340, extension 800. Leave us a comment, question, query, or complaint at Joe Gaither6, at MAWoods_ or at Bama Central. Mason Woods, how we doing? Good afternoon. How's the day been going, sir?
Going good. I took it upon myself this morning to go through all of the videos that we've put out on Bama Central the last week or so and try to extrapolate some comments about this year's freshman class from some of the various veteran players that have spoken, some of the various coaches that we've talked to. And, I got some good stuff. Seems like everybody is concerned with Dijon Lee and Keelan Russell, though, which I can't blame them. So everybody had great things to say about those two guys. Was able to get a little bit of info about Caleb Edwards this year from Josh Cuevas, but that's really what everybody was focused on. Seems like those two guys have been tearing it up this fall.
Maybe those three plus Justin Hill are maybe your three freshmen that might be getting playing time. I would have said Latsier Brooks as well, but Latsier sidelined with a little bit of an injury over the last couple of days. He was at practice today, but really off to the side in a black uniform, doing the ropes. What would you call it? The slinging the really heavy ropes for a length of time. And riding the bike, this, that, and the other. But when I saw him, he was walking behind me with still a noticeable limp. So not active today. No boot, no brace, no nothing on his lower body. But yeah, still walking with a limp and off to the side at practice. So I think that really those four, Keelan maybe, but Dijon Lee, Caleb Edwards, and I think Justin Hill are maybe your three freshmen that could see some significant playing time this season.
I think so as well. I would like to see maybe some of these freshman receivers getting involved, like you said, Latsier Brooks and maybe Derek Meadows, but, not necessarily sure how much space there is for them to get on the field with how loaded the top end is.
The top end of this roster is pretty loaded. But I spent most of my time today, Mason, watching the offensive line. Actually, no, not most. I spent all of my time.
The big uglies.
I mean, they were right in front of us. That was my game plan, anyways. We got together, myself, Will Miller, and Katie Tsoukalis got together before practice, and we're talking about what we were going to watch. And I said, well, if you don't mind, I'd like to keep watching the offensive line. She goes, oh, that's fine. She went over to the defensive backs and linebackers, and Will Miller was wide receivers, running backs, and a little bit of quarterbacks. And so, thankfully for me, they were offensive linemen. They were right in front of me in full pads, and it was a pretty interesting 15 minutes to me. Not a single bit of pass protection. Not a single bit in those 15 minutes. Now, obviously, plenty of practice. They practiced for
Sure.
2.5, 3 hours, whatever it was. And so I'm sure that they worked in pass protection into the game plan, into the practice plan. But while we were out there, it was all run blocking, run fits together, staying on the same tracks together, and really, really a lot of attitude. They broke in. They started basically the first of the period. They were in pairs of two, whether it was guard and tackle, whether it was center and guard, or guard and tackle. They were all in different sets of two, and they were working against scout team offensive linemen who were kind of standing there to be reach blocked. You run around, you reach block, you get your hips parallel to the line of scrimmage, and you start driving. So it was basically, can you stay with your buddy? Can you stay with your partner and move the other defenders? Mason, I think you saw a clip from freshman Michael Carroll. What did you see right there during that couple of minutes?
I'm not even sure if you can call him freshman. I know technically he is, but he certainly does not look like it. I don't know who the poor soul was that he was completely just running over, and he's stepping over as well. Putting the guy on his back. But yeah, I think Nick Kelly tweeted out the video, and he said that, Alabama offensive line coach Chris Kapilovic had requested he do the drill again, probably a little nicer than I just said it. But after he got in there and did the drill again, it was night and day difference from the first time. So I'm impressed with that little bit that I've seen.
Yeah, it was the 15 minutes that we saw, they were moving each other. They were pushing. They were moving each other. Now, it's not against the first team defense. No, it's against other scout team linemen, offensive linemen who are really standing there to be live blocking dummies. But they were pushing them pretty good. They were moving them pretty good. So they did 2 by 2 by 2, just all across the board in different rotations of the up twos. And then they came together and kept the run blocking, the run fits going. And it was essentially, can you move as a unit of 5 and drive these guys off the ball? Early in the drills, there was a couple of gaps and holes where the scout team defender moved through and blew up the line, sort of deal. But towards the back end of that 15 minutes, it was 5 fingers, 1 fist, everybody moving in a unit, no gaps in between all the hips of the offensive linemen, and basically poor souls on the scout team defensive line getting pushed back 5 and 7 yards down, waiting for the whistle to blow to save them.
Yeah, I mean that's extremely important for an offensive line. That cohesion and that ability to kind of all act on the same. It's kind of one brain controlling everybody. You need to be a hive mind there on the offensive line and be able to all react the same way and all react accordingly when you need to. I would imagine the focus on the run game. My gut tells me it's probably just okay. Today was a run game day at practice. Tomorrow might be a pass game day, but I don't know. My gut brain wants me to think that oh, they're just so good at pass blocking already. They don't even need to work on it anymore. Who knows? I am everything I see more and more about this offensive line now. Wow, it's only been in 15-minute increments at practice. I am very, very excited about it.
Yeah. We heard from Ryan Grubb, yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday from Ryan Grubb, and he talked about the offensive line and physicality. He said, I'm impressed with their physicality early. Now, obviously, not full pads up until today. Today, they did put the knee pads on or the traditional football pants. So you still got, 14 more camp practices before game week starts. And so still got to keep it going. But I think that physicality might be a little bit of a theme. You carry what you remember from last year and what you've heard about last year being maybe not as tough on the players last year to this year. Hey, we're doing it our way, the highway. You better be tough or get the heck out of here. I think that physicality is an emphasis, especially with the way the running game's been over 2 years now, obviously quarterback run and quarterback's athleticism had a lot to do with that. But I think Ty's a good athlete and Keelan's a good athlete, and even Austin Mack, good athlete, but they're definitely not Jalen Milroe in the run game. You're going to go back to Jam Miller. You're going to go back to a traditional running back, and you really have to have an offensive line that is moving people off the line. We've talked about it all throughout the summer about how hyped they are and how we won't buy into the hype until we really see it. Well, today we got a little glimpse. I won't say that I saw it, but a little glimpses of, they could do it. Interesting note, Mason. Man, I don't really know what to make of this, so you can help me here. First team offensive line, and it's been like this for a couple of days now. I thought originally it was, hey, in case of emergency, we got to make sure Gino can play right guard. But first team offensive line, the last couple of sessions that we've been out there has been Caden Proctor, left to right. Caden Proctor, Cam Dewberry, Parker Brailsford, Gino Vanderbar, not Jaden Roberts, and Wilkin Formby. And it says seem to hold for a couple of days now. Now, look, 14 more days in fall camp. That can all change. Then you get to game week, that can all change. But it seems like they are either just giving Gino a fair shake, or Gino has taken steps forward in his game to where, hey, maybe he has surpassed Jaden Roberts, or maybe it's just a subliminal, not so subliminal message to Jaden Roberts. Hey, buddy, you're going to get passed over unless you XYZ ABC get it together in the toughness department, my friend. What do you make here? Because it looks like the two guys we thought were battling for the left guard position might both be ending up as starters at left and right guard.
It's certainly really interesting because, Jaden Roberts is a guy that I think me and you have talked about a lot as being, if he has a good season, a guy that could probably be drafted this upcoming April. I think a lot of people are pretty high on him, myself included. I'm high on him. I think he's a great player. I think he's, we heard the reports from Coach David Ballou, like the physical prowess is off the charts. Like the amount of weight he's able to move around, just purely like his strength is incredible. And, if he can pair that with a great season, I think he is more than capable of being an NFL player. But this is interesting. I really felt that was kind of his spot. And to see that maybe that has changed throughout the first week and a half or so of fall camp is certainly intriguing. I like Gino Vanderbar. I think Gino's a great player, and we've talked about his versatility a lot. He can play all three of those positions along the front there, the two left guard, right guard, and center. So I think anywhere you put him, he's going to be a good player. But if he is taking over Jaden Roberts at that spot, that's got to mean really good things. That got to mean Gino's playing very well, I would imagine.
Yeah, the coaching staff's always been high on Gino, and every time his name gets brought up during this fall so far, it's still been really high, really, really intellectual player. We just want to see more from the physicality department, and maybe he's just tapping into it and really embracing that aspect of his game. Coach DeBoer talking about Gino Vanderbar says every time he gets his hands on you, he sticks to him. He sticks to the blocker and starts moving them. So really good sign. And the reason today, to elaborate and continue, the reason today where I'm a little more moved towards he might be starting at right guard is because when they went with the twos, Gino wasn't playing second team center. It was Joe Ionata playing second team center, former Joe Gaither Show guest, cut his hair for Locks of Love this past year. So he cut his Samson hair, and he's apparently right there playing the second team center. And Jaden Roberts is playing right guard. So it's not like Gino, hey, we just need you to, be in the second team center role. And, are you fighting for the left guard? He's in there fighting for playing time at right guard. And that's pretty interesting to me. I think I remember, I wrote it down on the practice notes, so I may as well read it. I wrote down the second team order as well. Let me read it off as well. Right there's the practice report. You can read the practice report at BamaCentral.com. We've got practice reports every day that we're out there. And really what we end up doing is whoever the lead is that day writes up the shell and puts their notes, and then Will Miller and myself today adding our own notes. So the second team offensive line today, Mason Woods from left to right, Olasa Lennon, left tackle, William Sanders, Joe Ionata, Jaden Roberts, and then there's your boy Michael Carroll playing right tackle. So
Sounds like a good group right there.
You're deep. Honestly,
Yeah.
you're deep enough to where you can use the bench as a motivator. So maybe that's what you're
Yeah.
seeing with Jaden Roberts. Hey, buddy, you're not. And now look, we're not out there the other 9/10 of practice. We're seeing 1/10 of practice each of these handful of days. We're not out there the other 9/10 of practice. And maybe when we leave, Jaden gets right back in there at right guard. That's totally a possibility that we're not privy to. But to me, it certainly seems like there's a bit of a message. And you heard David Ballou. I know you've been watching on the Bama Central YouTube channel. David Ballou has a video up from Monday as well. Alabama strength and conditioning coach. You reference what Jaden Roberts can do in the physicality department, squatting 900 pounds. But he's also, I mean, he's spitting out these really high numbers: 900 pounds this, 500 pounds that, blah, 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 X amount of explosion for all these players. And he says, but remember, it doesn't matter unless you translate it to the field. And maybe there's a little sense of maybe there's a little gap between what Jaden Roberts is doing in the weight room and what he's been able to show, or what he has shown the team this year, the practice on the practice field this year. And I'll spin this to another area, Mason. And the same with the offensive line, but just carrying it to a different theme. Last year, we don't really need to dig into Jalen Milroe any more than we already have, but he did have a long ass leash of, he's our guy. He's our guy. He's our guy. And okay, great. We've talked about it at length, why that might be the case. And we've talked about it on this show about Coach Saban and his loyalty. We kind of use Chris Owens as a famous example of longtime loyalty. You worked hard enough, you played hard enough, we'll give you a chance with a long leash to try to be the guy at at that right tackle. What's it say to you about this coaching staff? If we're 6 practices in, and last year's starter at right guard, who started all but maybe one game, I think he had an ankle injury for one game, all but one game, is, hey, buddy, we're not afraid to move your butt to the bench.
I mean, I think it says, we don't care how long you've been here. We've only been here. This is only our second year. We don't know you like that. You may have all this history here at Alabama prior to me, Kalen DeBoer, the rest of the staff showing up. But we do not know you like that. We just got here. So you got to earn that. I think it is in line with, I think, the messaging that we have kind of heard on what they gave the team this offseason of, hey, if you're not with it, get out. This kind of falls in line with that sort of messaging, I think, to the team. So it would not be surprising if that is kind of the way that they're addressing things, of just, nobody has a long leash anymore. No one on this team is able to make mistakes and keep making mistakes and continue to make those same mistakes in those games. If you make mistakes, you will get benched, and we will put someone else who's ready to not make those mistakes in there for you.
So I would say that's all encouraging. If you're sitting here waiting on the season to start in 24 days, I would say, look, man, the from what we see, the 1/10 every day that we see, the Bama standard is still pretty dang high. I know you can read the Bama Central YouTube comments, and some of them aren't so happy with some. What was it? There was an there was an outside linebacker clip from 2 days ago where Yanzi Pierre takes his helmet off and he's in the back of the drill and he kind of misses a few reps, but they just cycle on the reps, and somebody say, "Oh, 42 takes his helmet off and nobody corrects him. Everybody's staying soft over there." And I'm like, well, I don't think they're soft over there, but I think they're, look, Yanzi, if you want to stay in the back here and not do the reps, those are your reps you're missing, and these other guys will get the reps.
We'll take note, buddy. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we'll see the result of that maybe in week 1 when Yanzi Pierre is not getting as many reps on the field.
So still, look, 14 more fall camp practices. We will only be allowed to go to one more practice. I think it's the 17th. Is that right? It is no, Tuesday the 19th. Excuse me. Tuesday the 19th will be the next practice that we can go to as a media group. And it'll be 15, 20 minutes as well, and they'll likely be in full pads as well. So our schedule, Mason and I schedule, will be back online of morning shows all the way through that day. The guys are scheduled to have a scrimmage, I believe, on Saturday. Yeah, Coach DeBoer is speaking at noon after an early morning scrimmage. So hopefully we'll be able to have you some good notes about what happens in the scrimmage. The rest of the week is all gearing up for the scrimmage. The rest of the week you got today was Walmart, so you have practice on Thursday, Friday, and then a scrimmage on Saturday. They'll have another practice on Sunday, and then take their next off day will be Monday. So they'll be off on Monday. So a couple days in a row here for the Crimson Tide as they continue to get ready for the season opener against Florida State.
Are we getting into the scrimmage? No, I didn't think so. I didn't think anybody was getting in.
Unless you want to put your camo on and break into Brian Denny Steady. You know anybody?
Hey. Well, apparently they're letting people watch from the balconies now across the street there. I saw, I think it was former Joe Gaither Show guest Matt Stahl tweeting out the picture, actually, of the guy sitting up there atop his balcony watching, which I do not recall many photos or videos of that under the Nick Saban regime. I've always, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard urban legends that part of the lease signing process includes you agreeing to not do that. So I don't know. It is interesting though. I'm just very excited for this season. I think there's a lot of question marks, obviously, but I am very optimistic about what this team is going to look like.
Well, we can get our Navy SEALs on Saturday if you want to. Navy SEALs break into Brian Denny and sit in the upper deck with our binoculars on, scratching notes. So anytime you see us on Saturday saying, according to reports, just know we're sitting in the sky deck in Brian Denny watching the scrimmage. No, I'm just teasing. If any of the athletic communication staff is watching, and I know they all are, I'm just teasing about that. Mason, what do you say we hit the voicemail line and then we'll go to another topic or two from today's practice and coming up on, in college football? We want to encourage everybody to join us on the voicemail line this season. We had a lot of fun this summer with several of our callers, but now that it is heating up and fall is really going 24 days away from actual football, you can join us on the voicemail line 205-462-7340, extension 800. All you got to do is type that first number in, and the lady will say, if you know your party's extension, type 800. It's going to ring 2 to 3 times, and then it'll say, leave a voicemail. Just give us your voice. You have 5 minutes to say your piece. You'll be uninterrupted. We'll play it on the show just like we're about to play Dax's voicemail. We've had a lot of new listeners come through this summer. We'd love to take a lot more callers, and especially, look, we're going to be really, really pumping it out on game day. We want you to react to the game so that our Monday show has a lot of your voicemail reactions to the game. That's your 5 minutes of uninterrupted time, and if you need to go longer, call back, and I will stitch them together, and you'll have 10 minutes right there of uninterrupted time to talk about the games or to talk about whatever you want to talk about with Alabama football offensive line play. How are you reacting to Jaden Roberts apparently running with the twos? That's really what I'm looking at. And look, I've been focused on the lines because I think that's where the juiciest information is. I mean, your wide receiver room pretty set for now. Your defense looks pretty set, and they're going. I mean, at least these portions that we have been seeing, it's been mostly drill work. Mm-hmm. Today they ramped up the physicality, and I felt like, oh, we're actually watching football. We're not watching athletes run through a drill. We're not watching athletes practice technique. These guys are actually playing some football, so it's going to heat up real soon, and really right now. Let's head to the voicemail line and see what our man Dax has to say.
What's up, guys? It's Dax. It's been a little bit since I called. I was at church camp Sunday through Wednesday, where I got about 20 hours of sleep through those 4 or 5 nights, and then packed up and went to Gulf Shores on Friday and went deep sea fishing Saturday. And I'm still recovering from that. Man, I so lack of sleep, but I had such a great time surrounded by, like-minded people in Christ, and then deep sea fishing. Public service announcement: do not bring bananas on a boat. When we were about to leave the deck, we were about to head out from the dock. The deckhand was like, "Anybody got any bananas?" And there was one guy in our group that had bananas, but he didn't hear the deckhand say that. So naturally, we leave the dock with the bananas on the boat. About 3 or 4 hours, we caught maybe 1 or 2 fish that we could keep. We were going mainly for red snapper. Love red snapper. Oh, it's so good. About 4 hours in, the deckhand's like, all right, somebody lied to me. There's bananas on this boat, and I just know they're here. And this time, the guy that was in our group heard, and he was like, I got some bananas. And the deckhand was like, get them overboard now. The next 3 catches were like 12-pound snapper, some whoppers. We ended up bringing home about 15, 16 snapper. I caught myself a big bonita as the last catch of the day. Of course, bonita is the bloodiest fish you'll ever see in your life. You do not eat them. They are primarily used for shark bait. That's how my deep sea fishing trip went. And now on to the football, the really important topic.
Hold on, Mason.
Mhm.
Was he saying the bananas were bad luck or were keeping the fish away?
Yeah. You never heard that? Bananas are like bad luck on a boat. It's some old superstition thing. I don't know exactly the origin of it, but
Well, it sounds like it played out because they caught a bunch of fish right after they got rid of them. All right, that's funny. Dax is on the football.
And during fall camp so far, I'd say my favorite position group to watch has been the defensive linemen, just because of those clips of them slinging around that sled like it was 2 pounds. Like, dude, our pass rush, I guarantee you, is going to be so nice this year. They're going to get the offense back. They're going to get the ball back in the offense's hands so fast, and I cannot wait. This season's going to be so nice. And I'm also really excited to watch Mason eat his words on Ty Simpson. Mason, you are going to regret that you ever slandered Ty Simpson. I know you haven't really slandered him, but you kind of have.
I've been the only objective one here.
Please, I'll pause it there.
I continue to be the only objective one here. We've not seen him play. I will not crown him as a Heisman candidate even until we see him play. He might be great, but I got to see it. I haven't seen anything that shows me he's going to be great yet.
We'll keep going.
That's
You kind of have, according to me, at least. You can't take all those words back now. Just get ready to eat them, buddy. You're going to open that mouth, and I'm just going to shove them words in it. Just get ready. I'd say the one player I'm most excited to see and that I think is going to break out is Jam Miller, because he was like RB2 behind Jalen Milroe last year. And now that we're actually going to have a quarterback that can pass the ball, Jam Miller is a really good receiving back. We already know that. I think Jam Miller is in for a massive year. We're actually going to get to see his talents on full display. And last thing I've got, everybody was gawking at this 23.5 miles per hour by Rico Scott, and I think that is wonderful. Here's a little tidbit. The fastest mile per hour ever recorded in college football was achieved by Barry and Brown on an LSU kickoff return versus somebody. Thank you, Google AI, for not telling me the team he did it on. And he reached 22.6 miles an hour. Will the pads take a whole mile per hour off of Rico Scott's top speed? We'll see. Hopefully not. Rico's huge. I don't think the pads are really going to bother him that much. Also, fun fact, Isaiah Bond hit 22.1. Rico is going to hit the record miles per hour speed in college football this year. I might put my money on that one, if I can. Is that even possible? We're going to see. Anyway, that's what I got. That was that's what I did last week, and I hope y'all had a good last week. I know the boys are having a great time at fall camp, especially the coaches in their sweats. They're loving it. Anyway, hope y'all have a good one, and roll Tide.
Roll Tide. That's Dax on the voicemail line. Will the pads take a mile and a half off of Rico Scott's times?
I don't know. I will say I am looking here, and take this with a grain of salt probably, but it looks like after a game in 2019 that Henry Ruggs did tell media that he reached 24.3 miles per hour on an 81-yard touchdown pass against South Carolina that season. So I don't know, maybe that's the bar that we've got to get to. Either way, I feel confident that Rico Scott can potentially get there. Maybe it might not happen this year, but give him, I'm not sitting here and saying he's not going to get any. I think he might get faster. I don't think that's crazy to say. Well, he's 19 years old probably. I don't think it'd be insane for him to maybe knock off another, or add a little bit of extra speed over the next 9 months or so. And then we're sitting here next year talking about this same conversation again, but he might actually do it. I don't know though. If anybody's going to do it, he's certainly the candidate too.
And Dak's saying that the defensive line is the position he's most excited about after a handful of practices. Mason, where are you at? Let's take a temperature check after 6 practices. Who are you excited about? Which position group are you feeling more juiced up, or is there any position group that's taken a step forward for you?
I don't. I mean, I'm not sure that I've necessarily seen enough from anything to change my opinion drastically one way or the other on any of these position groups. I still think I kind of have the same opinion going into fall camp, or kind of have the same opinion now that I did going into fall camp of all of them, where I think they're all pretty dang good. I think inside linebacker is like the one that you maybe have to worry about. But every report I've seen, the little bit I got to see with my own eyes, Deontay Lawson was moving smoothly out there. That doesn't look like that big knee brace hampers him too much at all. I think he's able to still function pretty well. So I am encouraged. I do like the defensive line. I like that pick for being the most kind of exciting group. I think they are due for an exciting year. I think they need to have an exciting year. But personally, I just got to go with these wide receivers. I will continue to love this wide receiver room. This might be, early here, but this might be my favorite wide receiver group that I've seen in an Alabama uniform since I've started watching them. I love all of them so much already. I think it's going to be a very electrifying year for that group.
I'll take the exact opposite side of the ball. The defensive back room is
Love that.
just so loaded with talent and so long. They all look like aliens out there to me, and they're all moving so smoothly. Look, it's just early parts of practice, but their hips look really, really fluid, and you bring back a lot of experience. I was talking with Katie about how I think your corners are set. Your 2 deep safeties are set. It's that Husky room. If you are trying to play Husky this year, and really if you're trying to play any of these positions, the depth is so strong that it's going to be really hard to get some playing time. So whoever does end up being that 5th defensive back and really that 3rd corner who comes off the bench, who's ready to either give Delani or Zabian a little bit of a break, you're still looking at really, really strong players.
I know that. I just know that some of I think either you or Katie one or noticed that Red Morgan in a few practices have been kind of maybe making the transition from being with the safeties more to being with the corners. I'm intrigued by that. I wonder, just kind of what that means for where his future lining up is, because I kind of thought of him as a player who would be taking that role, but seeing that maybe he's going to be shifting around a little bit differently than I expected this season.
Well, I think that all the Huskies are. I think all the Huskies are spending time with the corners and the safeties. It's kind of my interpretation. Now that could be completely wrong, but I think that Red is still a Husky candidate. Katie put in her practice notes today that when she was watching the defensive backs, that Cam Calhoun was working with the corners. Kalen and Mo Linguist came to talk to him for a little bit, and then they moved him over to the safeties. And so I think that Cam Calhoun is one of these Husky candidates. And I think they're just kind of still, because of it being so early in camp, still kind of in the experimentation phase of what's the best combination of 5 guys we can get out there. And if a safety type ends up having to play Husky, or if a corner type ends up having to play Husky, we want them to be ready. We want to be cross-trained and ready. So I think that is really one of the more intriguing parts of the defense. I think everywhere else on defense, we kind of have a real good idea of who's going to be in what role, but how the Husky position shakes out and who ends up being that 3rd corner is really, really intriguing to me.
Yeah, it's intriguing, but I also feel like just about anybody they throw there, they're going to be great. So I almost I don't want to say, I'm not worried about it, but intrigued is probably the right word to use.
Yeah, it's intriguing from a point of strength, not a point of question. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's take a quick break. As we do, I want to let you know about the Lions Club Community Health Fair. You're going to hear a commercial for that in just a moment. I'll be volunteering. That'll be Saturday, August 23rd, right here at St. Mark Church in Northport, about a mile and change away from me right now. If you've got health needs, if you can come get screened. We're going to be doing a lot of different basic health screening services for free, and you'll be able to kind of get a good idea of what's going on with your body, and that always helps you make good informed decisions. And so we encourage you to come out there. I will be volunteering. If you would like to volunteer, you can reach out to me in the comments section at Joe Gaither 6 or on all my social media machines. We'll get you signed up. It's not going to be really blood, sweat, and tears. It's really just going to be time and attention and maybe directing people in different directions, maybe carrying some pizza from the parking lot to inside. It won't be that strenuous, but it will be a good way to volunteer for the community. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll tell you about the Northport Lions Club Community Health Fair. We'll come back and talk about the freakiest player on the Alabama football team.
Northport Lions Club and St. Mark Church present a free health fair in honor of Dr. Norman and Jean Carlson, Saturday, August 23rd, 8:30 till noon. That'll be in the St. Mark Family Life Center. Northport citizens can get free eye, hearing, and blood pressure screenings, diabetes testing, and more. Now, the first 100 people get a free biscuit, and free Domino's pizza slices will be served at 11, along with free snow cones and drinks from Buffalo Rock. Sponsors include Alabama Lions Site, Ascent Audiology, DCEH Regional Medical Center, West Alabama Food Bank, Special Olympics, Northport Police Department, U of A Institute for Rural Health, the Alabama Department of Public Health, and others. A Northport Fire Department truck will be on site, and there will be lots of fun kids' activities. The Northport Lions St. Mark Health Fair. See you Saturday, August 23rd.
And Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback, who is really he's been fantastic.
And the show is brought to you by Derek Daniels State Farm Insurance. We want to thank Derek for putting on the show each and every day. You can call Derek for all your insurance needs at 205-462-7340. Home, life, auto insurance needs, renters insurance, boaters insurance. You know, we've been hammering the renters insurance over the last couple of days because it is moving season. Students moving back to campus, moving to an off-campus apartment, or changing off-campus apartments. And look, even if you're not a student, you need renters insurance. If you're moving from one house to another or wherever you are in the Alabama area, if you're renting, you need renters insurance because your landlords aren't going to protect your things in your house. So call Derek today at 205-758-3391.
Did you happen to see Tua's impression of Trump?
Oh no, what was it?
It was just the standard, you know. It just basically repeated what he had said about him at the Dolphins press conference today. I think somebody asked him a question about it, and then asked him about the pronunciation. And he's like, "What did he say exactly?" I think he said something to the effect of like, "It's not the worst I've ever heard, especially playing at Alabama."
I believe that. You remember his early days. He had
the language barrier. You remember that?
Oh my gosh, yes. The message board talking about can he learn English because he's from Hawaii? Like they don't speak English out there. Oh, that was such a terrible post.
To this day, that is one of the funniest things I have ever read in my life.
And then he's on. They do just a short little ESPN clip for some of his first games where he goes. It's his face and he goes Tung-O Vai-Loa. Tagovailoa, and I was like, "All right, thanks. I can. That's a good way to teach everyone to. We appreciate it."
Yeah, that's what Nico Iamaleava should have done last year. I was calling him Iamaleava for far too long.
Iamaleava. Wonder what he's going to do at UCLA this year. You know, you saw. I don't even think we ever talked about it, but he said, "Oh, I'm not coming to." It wasn't a financial decision to come to UCLA. It's a competition decision.
Okay. We'll see.
A competition decision meaning I had to play against lesser competition, so I look good for my NFL draft stock.
That entire situation is still just remains to be so strange because I'm seeing like, you know, not that anybody's picking Tennessee to be a national champion this year or anything, but it just feels like I'm still seeing far too many people acting like Nico is still at Tennessee when they rank them preseason. And like, are we forgetting that he left and they have a like replacement level quarterback taking his spot because people are treating Joey Aguilar like he's the same level of play. He's not. We saw what he did last year. He was like above average at a small school. I'm not really understanding any of the hype for Tennessee this year that I've seen. Again, I don't think it's people picking them to be champions or anything, but certainly, in the mix for the college football playoff, and I don't see it.
I don't see it either. I think that Joey Aguilar and that offense is going to get exposed a little bit this season. Exposed maybe by Alabama's freakiest player. We spent some time with Kane Womack today, and he didn't say length or girth. He called Quay Rousaw, I said, on a team full of freaks. On a team full of freaks, Quay is the freakiest. Okay, all right.
High praise.
Let's make a little just discussion about Quay Rousaw, and we'll wrap this program up right here. As always, you can leave your comments at Joe Gaither 6 or find us on your favorite podcast platforms. Quay Rousaw last year getting his first real action. He was a redshirt freshman, so it was his first real action. Played in every game last year. Ended up with 36 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 2 interceptions, 1 sack with 1 forced fumble. And I'm wondering to myself, Mason, as I'm rereading these numbers, are we overinflating Quay Rousaw? Have we been overinflating him all summer because he's a returning starter? Because these numbers don't jump off the page at all. 1 sack, 3 tackles for a loss. Yes, you got the 2 interceptions, and I think they were actually pretty athletic now that I remember it. But just a good player. I mean, good for a redshirt freshman, learning a new position, and the Wolf position is hard. The Wolf position requires you to hold the edge against the run, requires you to rush the passer, requires you to drop back into coverage. You're lining up against tight ends. You're lining up against tackles. You're guarding tight ends out of the backfield, or you're picking up a running back out of the back. You got to be a freak, just like Kane Womack said. But I wonder, just right off the bat, have we been overinflating Quay Rousaw this offseason?
It's a tough call. I think it kind of goes person to person. I don't know that. It still feels like the general consensus is not that he's going to be a 20 sack guy with 10 tackles for loss, and he's up for the Heisman as a defensive player or anything. But I do think that there is certainly a level of hype for him that maybe was not there before last year, obviously. And a lot of that does just have to do with simply nothing else other than the fact that, he started last season and he's back on this year's team. It doesn't really matter what he did last season, just that he was a starter and now he's back. And so, yeah, I mean, people, myself included, are putting a lot of stock in that. But I think that you kind of have to take last season with a grain of salt too, because, obviously he was a freshman, so it was going to be his first year in a new system, regardless of if it was the entire team's first year in a new system. But you still have to take that into account. He is learning a new defense along with the rest of the team learning a new defense. And I think that a lot of those things can contribute to why they maybe were not as effective at getting to the quarterback. That's because everybody's trying to learn how to do it. In watching all of these players talk to media and everything this past week or so, a lot of the defensive players have shared the same sentiment of like, if you do your job, everything's going to work out. And that's kind of what they teach. That's kind of what they are taught. And it's like, that's all you got to do. You have to learn your job before you can do your job. And I think a lot of last season was just guys learning their job. Now that they all have a better grasp on what exactly they have to do in any given situation, I would imagine that the plays can begin to present themselves more.
Yeah, I mean, former 5-star out of Carver Montgomery, 4-star if you look at 24/7, 5 if you looked at On 3, and really on 24/7, he was the 33rd rated player in the class. So right on that 4 or 5-star line, got on the field, and I think there's a little element of, I don't know if it's nostalgia is the right word, but there's a little element of, I love this guy or I love this player because he and James Smith both came together as from the same place. 2 5-stars from Carver Montgomery. They both picked Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
It's like rooting for a set of twins.
Yeah.
And if you have a set of twins, then you want Billy and Charlie Brown to both be really good and yada yada. It's just like, I'm rooting for Charlie Brown, so I'm rooting for Billy Brown too. And I do think James Smith is going to be really special this year.
I think it very rarely works out where both twins wind up being very good.
Yeah, I agree. But I liked
There's
what I
always
saw.
one that's better.
I like fundamentally what I saw out of Quay last year, but it's
Sure.
just like you see the fundamentals, but it didn't translate in the stat sheet. It didn't translate to the stat sheet into that's an impressive stat line. Look, the sack number is horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
You started every game. You played every game on the edge, and you only have one sack. That's
bad.
disgusting. I'm sorry. You only have 3 tackles for a loss. That's not good. Now,
I will say
go ahead.
in 3 years of varsity football in high school, he only had over 10 sacks in one of those years. The other 2, he had 5. So maybe this is, I don't want to say just the type of player he is, but maybe, he is less of a, it sounds weird, but less of a specifically go get sacks kind of edge rusher and more of just a, hey, do your job and don't let anybody get outside if you edge rusher.
Well, the wolf position is like that in a large way. The wolf position requires you to play fundamentally sound, and maybe that's why that I liked him a lot last year. Maybe that's why I have been perhaps overinflating him this year, is because I do think that he held the edge pretty well in the run game. Now, did he go get the quarterback in the pass game? Clearly not. And I do think that he's also dropping into coverage a decent amount as the Wolf. And I know that, goodness gracious, if that were Will Anderson, the Alabama fans would have lost their dang minds. But you're asking them to do different plays. Even though they're both lined up in the same spot on the defense visually, you look at them on your TV and you think he's got to go get the passer. He drops back into coverage and you're like, what the heck is what? You remember how many times, what the heck is Pete Golden doing dropping Will Anderson back? Well, sometimes that's what happens schematically, and it happens more so in Kane Womack's system than it even did in the Pete Golding, Nick Saban, and the Kirby Smart, Jeremy Pruitt style defense.
You've got to be a more versatile player. You just have to be able to do more things in this system than previously.
Yes, 1,000% yes. But he called him the freakiest player. Athletically speaking, he said he plays with violent hands. He referenced a pulling guard, an Auburn pulling guard in last year's Iron Bowl that he obliterated, was the word he used. He obliterated him. And so you wonder if it just took you some time, if it just takes you some time to play Wolf, and now that you've played it for a year and you've gone through an off season and you're going through summer and you've got your body even more right, and you're going into your 3rd year of college football, if this is his time. And if it is his time, what's a good stat line to expect? Definitely more than 1 sack. Goodness gracious, sir. Come on now. The 2 interceptions, I don't think you can ask for.
You will not get that again. Very unlikely, at least.
If he gets 2 more again this year, you're doing the Sammy bow down. But you need more than 3 tackles for a loss.
Absolutely.
And honestly, you need more than the 36 total tackles last year. 14 solos and 22 assists combines for 36 combined tackles. Forced 1 fumble, and that's a little hit or miss, so you can't really go into that stat and say, oh, he should have forced more fumbles. Yeah, he should have forced more fumbles. But
sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Circumstances, right. So let's think about tackles for loss and sack numbers just as a whole. Is 6.5 too much to set at an over under? So if he hits 7, he's over. At 6, he's under. Is 6.5 too high of an expectation to have for Quay Rousaw? I mean, only won last year, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You're gonna be more.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's at least in line with what you should expect from your defense. That's where he should be, if not more, obviously. But I don't think it's like an outrageous leap to, one, he's only in his 2nd year in the program. So like there's still a lot of, just young player in him, or he doesn't quite know everything, doesn't quite know the way everything works. So, working through some of that, like, I don't think it's crazy to expect him to think that he could make the leap from 1 to 7 there. I think that's a fair line. I mean, I was going to say, I think, a a acceptable stat line for him this season would be somewhere between 6 to 10 sacks and somewhere between 10 to 15 tackles for loss, probably with 45 to 50 tackles.
In 2023, at South Alabama, they moved Quentin Wilfon in the offseason from Stinger, basically the Jihad Campbell, Justin Jefferson role, from Stinger to Wolf. So he played a full season at Wolf. He was their Stinger and moved to Wolf, and finished with 84 total tackles, 16 tackles for a loss, and 6.5 sacks. So I'm thinking somewhere in this range here. Now I think 84
That's a lot of tackles.
Yeah, probably a little high. 16 tackles for a loss, also probably a little bit high. But
13 is doable. 12.
Yeah. You give me one per game.
Yeah.
And I mean, some games you'll have 0 and the other games you'll have 3. Like, it's just going to work out that way. But average out 1 per game. And then 6.5 sacks. That's still. Hey. Dog and the cat are fighting. Excuse me. Wrestling, they've been pretty good most of the episode, but just got into a little tangle. You give me 16 tackles for that's a lot. I think 12, 13, and I think that 6.5 number is about where you need or where you're looking for Quay Rousaw, because you need LT to end up with 8 or 9. I know LT said double digits was his goal, but you need 8 or 9 out of the Bandit, and you give me 7 from the Wolf, you're at 15 already, and you're feeling pretty good about what you're getting as far as getting after and affecting the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you're over halfway to last year's total with just 2 players right there. So you're feeling pretty good. I think that's fair. I think that's a like you said, the tackles maybe a little bit high. Maybe we temper our expectation there just a touch. But as far as tackles for loss and the sack totals, I don't think those are all that outrageous. Somewhere kind of like I said, that 10 to 15 range in the tackles for loss, and in the 6 to 10 range for sacks. That would be what he should get this year if he is the player that we all hope he is.
So we'll be watching Quay Rousaw, and I think with even more attention after Kane Womack's comments today, calling him the freakiest player on a team full of freaks. He's the freakiest.
I think David Ballou also, when he was asked about like pound for pound who the strongest players are on the team, I think he mentioned Quay Rousaw as one of them. Obviously we heard the numbers from Jaden Roberts and Caden Proctor, but those guys are also 6 inches taller and about 80 pounds heavier. So, pound for pound, I think Quay Rousaw is one of the just most athletic freaks on the team.
So we'll keep talking about it on the Joe Gaither Show. 14 more fall camp practices and then a full game week. You're at 24 days away from Alabama kicking off against Florida State. We're going to call the program right here tonight. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Please.
You have one more thing. Just saw this on Twitter just now. I'm sure you saw it, but former Alabama player Jesse Williams had a heart attack this week, and looks like he was discharged from the hospital yesterday and is back home safely. Seems like his recovery is going well. And, obviously we don't know really anything that happened there. Probably not going to. Don't really care what happened there. Just glad to see that he's okay and back with his family. Yeah,
that was a scary social media post that I saw. He said, just a little heart attack. Oh, man. There ain't no such thing as a little heart attack, sir.
Glad that he's doing okay now.
Very, very much so. We'll call the program right here. Tonight, we're scheduled to interview Xavier Griffin, Alabama's 5-star linebacker commit in the class of 2026. So we'll be interviewing him tonight. We have a commitment for a time tonight, and we'll play it on tomorrow morning's program. I'm really looking forward to to continuing to get to know these recruits, and I'm really grateful that Xavier Griffin is going to carve out some time tonight after football practice. The high schoolers have started school back, so it's a busy time for these guys, and I really appreciate Xavier Griffin for carving out some time. We'll talk to him tonight. It won't be live. We'll put it on the program, at the back end of the program tomorrow, just like we've done most of these other recruits. So I'm really looking forward to that. Look for us tomorrow morning back in our normal time slot, and look for a discussion with Xavier Griffin right here on the Joe Gaither Show. We encourage you to leave us a voicemail, 205-462-7340, extension 800. We encourage you to leave us a comment at Joe Gaither 6, at MAWoods _ at Bama Central, or anywhere on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You got all kinds of video. You got our press conferences with Kane Womack, with Ryan Grubb. You got 3 different practice videos again today. I'm about to look for Alabama's official practice video. I think it's going to be putting out pretty soon. We'll get all that up there. So if you're fiending for Crimson Tide coverage, it's right there on the Bama Central YouTube channel. We hope you have a great Wednesday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.